Hey guys, this is the Tiara Life at 501, and I have another segment that I like to share with you guys. So, thanks for checking this out. Thanks for being here with me. Every one of my segments has a title. So today's topic is the blueprint. So I'm gonna just like jump right into it. I'm gonna explain to you what the blueprint means to me and kind of like when I was first introduced to it and how it just recently kind of like came back into my life and made me reflect on some things. I was first introduced to this concept as like honestly it was like 11 years ago from someone that I was dating for a while, and he introduced me to the blueprint by it kind of started from an argument, to be honest. I don't remember specifically, like I said, because it was a long time ago. But basically, it was like, I don't know, some one night we were like communicating, and then he kind of like fell off of communication. And the next time we talked, which I think was the next day, I was like irritated about it. So we kind of got into it. It wasn't an argument. We got into a discussion about it, about just whatever, having not spoken to him the night before. So I basically like we were in person, and I was like, I'm leaving. Like I'm off this. And I remember he said to me, he was like, "You're not gonna leave over this." I was like, excuse me? Like, how do you know what's gonna make me leave and not leave? And that's when he said, it's not in your blueprint. I was like, what? What does that mean? Like, what are you talking about, the blueprint? And he was like, okay, let me break this down to you. It's kind of like his trade secret, so to say. But he basically explained to me that when we first started dating, he had kind of like felt me out, like tested the waters, and tried to see what my different thresholds were for like things that would like trigger me, I guess. And he explained that like in the beginning there were times when I would call him and he didn't answer, but he didn't answer purposely just to see kind of like how I would react. Like, okay, what's she gonna do if she doesn't talk to me all day? Or what is she gonna do, like for instance, if we fall off of communication? And he was like, you basically were fine with it. Like, yeah, you might say a little something, but like whatever. He said constant communication wasn't something that I needed. Which was true. And then he kind of brought up like that was I guess the pro side of it, and then the con side of it. He was like, okay, and he kind of like, and I remember this when he said it. He had showed me some scenarios or kind of like introduced some scenarios to me in the beginning, like, oh hey, I saw your friend when I was out, and kind of like mentioned like flirtatious situations, which weren't even true, just to see my reaction. And he told me, he was like, I've already tested you. I've already like stuck the little needle in here and there just to see, what makes you tick. Basically, what you would deal with and what you won't deal with. And he was like, I know that cheating and flirting and all that. He's like, I know you're walking out of the door, but us like not talking last night, you're not gonna leave. And I swear to you, it was like, it's such a simple thing, but he was right. I was like, oh my God, he like actually kind of like I felt like he studied me. And I was like, I just couldn't believe it. And the other thing that he kind of followed it up with, it's not really about, it's about studying the other person, but it also has a lot to do with yourself, because he basically said, he also didn't want to, while he's testing my triggers, he also was, he didn't want to create like behaviors that he couldn't keep up with. So, let's say he couldn't talk to me like every single night until 12 o'clock in the morning, or 1 o'clock in the morning, or whatever. If those were things that I needed, he needed to know if those were triggers for me, or if those were make or break or threshold things for me, because they weren't things that he was able to keep up with. And I always remember that, like through ever since then, in any kind of situation, it's always been in the back of my mind, which kind of like we're gonna jump forward to like what happened, or what's been kind of like I'd say the landscape of what's been going on with me more recently, that really it kind of brought that concept back to my mind. I had to remember it and recall it and be like, you know what, Tiara, I wasn't paying attention to my blueprint. And by that I mean, more recently, I have felt like I've been falling short of what people needed from me, wanted from me, and it's been upsetting. It's been it's made me anxious, because I'm talking about people that love me and care about me and support me, and it's been confusing, because I'm like, wow, I'm trying so hard. These people or these situations, it needs so much from me, and when I'm not able to do it, I feel like I just, like I said, I feel like I'm falling short of what I need to do. And I'm like, why is it that, like, all this love around me, it is bringing me so much anxiety, or it's like it's wearing me out. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. It's a positive, this positive force is bringing this negative, this like negative force about inside of me. And I realized that just because someone wants you, loves you, needs you, and that could be a person or a situation. We're talking about friends, family, work, co-workers, like your life endeavors, like everything. Just because someone wants you and loves you doesn't mean that they're able to want the best for you. Like, I hope that makes sense. Like, listen to that. Just because someone loves you and wants you doesn't mean that they're able to want the best for you. I'm not saying that they want bad for you. I'm just saying that sometimes what things and people need from you are not always what's best for you to put out. And for me right now, that basically is my time. So, I felt like all this, everything that I needed to push out was almost like more than what I could handle. And it relates back to the blueprint, because I realized that, I'm the one who creates and designs the guidelines of how my relationships work, how things evolve, just the guidelines that I function in. And I realized that, like, wow, I really didn't pay attention to the blueprint. So let's say, I'm just gonna use examples. I know I've been here before. If you, let's say, have a new love interest or a new friendship, you're so excited to be around that person. You're kind of like taking it all in. So what happens sometimes is we kind of like, we break our rules. We break a lot of rules, but you kind of break rules of, like, maybe there's something you're supposed to do, so you don't do it, for a couple of weeks. Like, oh, I usually do this, or I usually study more, or I usually, meet up with a different friend, or I usually make sure I'm in bed by, a certain time, so I'm fresh for work. And you start kind of like pushing the normal things that you do, or just the things that you need to function, you push them aside. And now you've created this like situation that a couple of months down the line, you're not able to keep up with, if that makes sense. For persons, like, I haven't really seen you lately. In the beginning, I was always seeing you. You could come out every night, and you're like, well, I can't do that every night now. I have to study, or I have to do this, or I have to do that, and that really, really, really relates to your blueprint. So it's kind of like this expectation that you set up that you're not able to keep up with. So I realize that of how much, like, so much of what I talk about, what I learn, and what I do, it's not always about, it's about what's happening around me, but kind of like, what did I do to contribute to that, or how can I harness that better, or what kind of behaviors did I do or not do that led to the behaviors that are happening around me. So I guess in terms of the blueprint, and I also want to kind of like relate that to work, because I feel like I talk a lot about personal relationships or love. Most important is the relationship you have with yourself. So this blueprint is very, very internal. It's your own reflection. It's your own guideline. But even at work, like a situation at work, I know this has happened to me a bunch of times, and it's probably happening to me right now. Let's say you have a new job or a new position, or you feel like, it's time that you're coming up on a raise. And you just feel like it's time to step up. Like, I kind of do that at work. I would say, like, every 3 to 6 months, I'm like, okay, I've done this. Like, what can I do to get better? And a lot of times that means taking on more work. And sometimes when you're taking on more work, or you're doing more things, or you're jumping in, you're starting to, and that's a great thing. But once you start to do things once, twice, 3 times, and you're consistent with it, it becomes part of what's expected. Like I said, what can be expected in any kind of relationship, with family, with friends, at work. As it's expected, people begin to depend on you for that energy, depend on you for that, for whatever it is that you're able to put into that situation. And then what happens, like that's happened to me at work before, is that, all these extra things that weren't part of my job that I took on, I have a busy week with the actual work that I'm supposed to do. I can't keep up with the extra things. And now what started off as being a good thing and kind of, like exceeding, is now I feel like I'm falling short because I can't keep up. And that again relates back to the blueprint. I guess I'm trying to like, the definition of blueprint, I guess, is it's like a house. If you think of your home, it's basically like the spiritual, the mental, the lifestyle guidelines that you can live within, that are your comfort, that you build, that you design. And just like a home, just like your house, like I just recently did a renovation. You know, you can renovate, you can have additions, you can redo your landscape, you can repave your driveway, you can, you know, finish your unfinished basement. You can always, your blueprint can certainly change, expand, you know, look different, but it is something that you at times need to step back and be mindful of and look and say, okay, like if there's some kind of situation that feels out of control, particularly, you know, a relationship, then just kind of like look at that and say, you know what, like, am I functioning, you know, did I set up like realistic expectations as far as my own blueprint and how I'm able to function with this person or with this situation, and how they're able to function with me once they step into my home. Because that's what, you know, that's what a relationship is. When someone comes in, is in your space, that's your home. So I hope that makes sense. You know, I hope that that can kind of like, you know, resonates with you. I guess my advice, like I said, is just to step back and take a look. Think about what your blueprint is, reflect on it, you know, build on it, expand it, but make sure that, you know, you're not breaking down these walls and open these windows and just opening this door for people to walk in and out of your blueprint and in ways that you can't keep up with, or that you know, or an overflow of the piece that you need. Like I said, I hope that resonates. I mean, it's small things, and it's funny because like I said, I knew that, and it like just came back into my life, and I'm like, you know what, T, like you're in this situation because you really didn't pay attention to your blueprint. So just kind of like, you know, put that in your back pocket, think about that. And I would love comments. We would love comments. I say we because, you know, even though it's me, you know, there's definitely a team behind all this. But just comments, feedback, because this is not just about like what I'm going through. Like I said, it's about what's going on around me. It's what people talk to me about. So you can certainly send anonymous emails to asktiara, AskTiara. Just if there's something that you want us to elaborate on, or want me to elaborate on, talk about, and just like, and especially if this meant something to you, you know, DMs, you know, whatever, Facebook messages, emails, you know, however you want to relay that, you know, I'm definitely open to it and would love to hear it. And before I close this out, I want to make a little announcement. We just started our, this is Tiara Life 501, and we actually are doing one episode a month, live on Fridays with Dirty Water Media. So we just started that project, super excited about it. And that's really about just interviewing, like, I wouldn't even say local talent, because there's talent that's homegrown locally, but that are doing big things, you know, traveling the country. But just kind of like shining the light on entrepreneurs, businesses, entertainers, artists, creators, innovators, what's happening in Boston, what's coming to Boston, and you know, like, and what everyone is doing and like doing in the city and pushing out. So we really want to highlight that as best as possible. So we'll make more announcements about that, when to watch for that. And you can always, all of that will be posted on my YouTube page, which is Tiara Life. And I also want to mention the next upcoming event, because we want to make sure that we keep people involved. Louis Bello, who is a live performing artist, like amazing. He is doing his first official kickoff for his live series, which will be at the W this Wednesday, the 28th. Doors open at 8 o'clock. He's going to be doing one show there a month. I don't know. I don't think the date for every month has been set yet, but we're definitely going to stay on top of that. We're gonna try to do some live streaming there that day. We're supposed to talk to Louis beforehand and after. Kind of depends on how much we're having, but we'll show something from that, if not during, after. So that's it for now. Like I said, this is Tiara Life at 501. Again, I thank you for checking us out. I thank you for being here, and I hope you stick with me. Till next time.